Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, I am Dr. Himanshu Tyagi and I am teaching this course titled Heat and Mass Transfer. We were looking at internal forced convection for past few lectures, and today we will try to wrap up that particular topic. So let us go to our slide. So today will be the 20th lecture and it is titled Forced Convection for Internal Flow. Before we go ahead, let us do a recap of what we have done in last one or two lectures, and today will be the day where we will be able to figure out all these unknowns. I think students have remembered in last two lectures we have talked about in internal flows. We had some basic understanding of the flow, but we want to figure out all the values of these unknowns. For example, for case 1, which is shown over here, for constant heat flux, we want to find the value of H. Is it a constant? Does it change with distance, with diameter? We want to find this delta T, that how much is the temperature difference between the surface temperature and the mean temperature of the fluid. We also want to figure out how does the mean temperature actually change with distance, and similarly how does Ts vary with distance. And if we find out the value of H, we will also find out Nusselt number, and these two are very important parameter, which is the velocity in the x direction as a function of r and x, and the temperature profile as a function of the radial coordinate r and the axial coordinate x. So, we want to figure out all these parameters and what exactly are their values. If we look at case 2 on the following slide, then similarly we have written lot of unknowns over here which are similar to case 1. In case 2, we are assuming that the whole pipe boundary is at a fixed temperature. So, there the surface temperature remains constant, and we want to find out all these properties along with how much is the entrance length and other things. So, some of these things we have already figured out, like the amount of entrance length, and other things we will figure out in today's lecture. If you look back on what we had covered yesterday, we had done the general thermal analysis for both cases 1 and 2, and they have helped us figure out that in case 1, where the constant heat flux case is there, then the slope for both these curves actually remain linear. So, if I can use a darker ink over here, I can show with orange that the curve for Ts as a function of x as well as Tm as a function of x, both of them retain a linear slope, and as a matter of fact their gradient term will turn out to be a constant. However, if we look at case 2, where the surface temperature is constant, Ts is constant, there the slope is always changing. So, if we look at this orange portion over here, so we remember that the curve was kind of increasing some sort of exponentially, and we had figured out a term for that as well, and that helped us figure out what should be the average temperature difference that we took. Because in case 1, the average temperature difference is always constant, but over here initially there is a large temperature difference, then medium, and then very small temperature difference. That is why I use the term exponentially, and we had defined that parameter known as the NTU, which we can write over here is the number of transfer units. NTU stands for number of transfer units, and this variable was very important because for different cases as shown in this top left side curve, we can have NTU value starting with very low as 0, because if we make H equals to 0, then NTU becomes 0, which means the fluid is never heated, it enters cold and then it leaves the whole pipe at the same temperature. Let us say it enters at 10 degrees, it leaves at 10 degrees as well. So, there our purpose has failed. So, we will call NTU value is 0, the number of transfer units was 0. It would be a heat exchanger which does not exchange any heat. So, this is just a imaginary case. In real life this would never happen. But if we start increasing the value of NTU from 2 to 3 to approximately 5, we can reach very close temperatures to that of the surface temperature Ts. So, we had also figured out that if we use the NTU value more than 5 or 6 or 7, then there is not much significant increase in the exit temperature over here. It may just change from 99 degree to 99.1, 99.2, 99.3. So, increase in exit temperature will be there, but it will be very minuscule, and that is not worthwhile investing in increasing the number of NTUs. Then we had also figured out this change in temperature delta T. Instead of using delta T average, we had figured out a term known as the delta T LM, which is the log mean temperature difference, and whose relationship is given over here. So, with this particular delta T, we had figured out that in order to calculate the heat transfer rate for the case number 2, where the surface temperature is constant, we can actually use delta T LM very nicely. And I think we have done one solved example based on that over here. And in this particular example, we have taken the whole surface to be at a constant temperature 100 degree, water enters at a low temperature, let us say 20 degree, we want to heat it to 80 degrees. And the question was, the solution that we wanted was, what would be the ideal length in this particular case if the parameter values are known to us. So, this is essentially a very simple problem just to illustrate the procedure that we will be using, and we came up with some number over here after doing the calculation around 7.5 meters. And just for illustrating the point, we have also calculated using the delta T average. So, this is delta T average value, which is simply this difference, initial delta Ti, final delta Te, add them and divide by 2. In that case, we get significantly less amount of length, which means it kind of over predicts, or rather under predicts the length which is needed for the water to reach 80 degrees. So, if we use the value given over here 6.4 meter, what we would realize is in reality our water would heat, but not up to 80 degree, but maybe little bit less, 65 or 70 degrees. So, we will fall short of our target. So, these concepts have helped us understand all the things related to forced heat, forced convection in internal flows. Now, we will go and answer all those unknowns that we had talked about in the last few lectures, and we want to find out in particular what will be the temperature and velocity profile inside the pipe. So, we will start with the simplest case, which is the laminar flow. So, let us go ahead and try and do it for laminar flow. So, let us look at the background of laminar flow in simple pipes. So, if we have a pipe over here and we have fully developed laminar flow, so I will write it is fully developed. So, if we solve the Navier-Stokes equation, what we get is for a circular pipe, the velocity profile turns out to be parabolic. So, that exercise I will leave to the students. I can do is I can mark the center line point over here and show the axis. So, this is my x axis, this is the r coordinate, and I can mark some points over here. This is V max value. This whole profile I can write as u as a function of r, and because this is fully developed, it is not changing with x. It is always a parabola of the given value. Then the average value we have also looked at over here. So, the V average, it turns out V average is V max divided by 2. So, if we solve the Navier-Stokes equation, what we get as the solution for that is this velocity profile we have obtained as twice into V average into 1 minus r square by r square. So, this is a very important equation, because using this we can calculate the shear stress at any given point I can just use this particular relationship. I will be able to find the shear stress. So, using this relationship, we will figure out that shear stress is R equals to 0 is 0 and it is max. At R equals to R, it is having the maximum value. Now, let us try and figure out what is the pressure drop in this particular pipe over here. If it is a long pipe of length L and the diameter is known to us as d. So, inside over here the parabolic velocity profile is there, and I know the mass flow rate at the inlet, same mass flow rate is coming out over here. If I call the inlet section as section 1 over here and this is section 2, so we can always write that P1 is greater than P2, because once the flow is taking place inside the pipe, or in other terms we can write del P by del X is a negative number, because this is a pressure driven flow. In order to attain this type of a flow, if it is water, I will have to put a pump upstream. If it is air that we are blowing, we will have to put either a blower or a compressor or some sort of fan to facilitate this flow, because of shear and viscosity effects, certain amount of power is actually being lost. And this again we can obtain the relationship, and it turns out this expression delta P, which I will get from here, this is delta P, which I can write as P1 minus P2, and this expression turns out to be 32 mu L V average by d square. And this is a very interesting expression, because from here we can see this delta P, lot of very interesting things we can see, that it depends on the linear power of L, which means it is not L square or L cube, it is directly proportional to length, which means if in a 10 meter section my delta P is, let us say, 10 Newton per meter square. So, if I double this section, if I make it 20 meters, so if I call this case A, then next one I call as case B. So, over here my pressure drop will increase proportionally. So, it will become 20 meters. Another interesting thing I can see is that it also depends on viscosity. So, the highly viscous fluid will have very large pressure drop, and we use a fluid which is having low viscosity, then our pressure drop can reduce. And in the limiting case, in some sort of a super fluid which could have zero viscosity. So, super fluids can be observed at only at very low temperatures at and under extreme conditions. So, there the fluid actually, if you rotate around in a loop, it would keep on going forever, and it is termed as a super fluid. So, just like we have superconductors, so we could have super fluid, and this is seen not only just theoretically, but experimentally this is also observed, where the viscosity is almost close to 0, which means if we put it in a long pipe and make it move once and then connect the ends of those two pipes, which makes it a loop, so it would keep on going inside that loop without ever stopping. So, these things at normal temperature and pressure we have not been able to figure out till now. So, all the fluids that are present around us, whether it is air or oxygen, CO2, water, oils, glycerine, liquid metals, it could be liquid sodium, all of them have some finite viscosity. So, for that we need pumps and blowers and fans in order to move around that particular fluid. Now, engineers use one very interesting notation. So, I will write that expression once again. So, delta P is 32 mu L V average divided by d square. So, engineers want to write delta P in terms of half rho V square. So, I will write half rho V average square, and there is a reason behind it, because this automatically has units of newtons per meter square. So, this is kind of an indirect pressure term, and it would be multiplied by the length divided by the diameter term, which is again dimensionless, and then F. And where did we look at this F earlier? This is the friction factor. If you remember, we had looked at it earlier in the case of full developing flow. So, if this is my velocity boundary layer and this is my thermal boundary layer over here. So, if you remember, we had looked at the value of F as a function of x. So, this is Fx. We have F or H, and H also we could have over here. So, H would behave something like this. So, this is Hx. So, this is local convective heat transfer coefficient, local convective heat transfer coefficient, and this F is the friction factor. And very interesting thing we obtain is that friction factor simply turns out to be this particular value for the simple case of laminar flow taking place in a circular pipe. And the formal name of this variable or factor F, this is known as the Darcy friction factor. So, this turns out to be a very simple equation over here, and I think towards the end of this particular section, I can maybe also write it for turbulent flow, because later on we will look at it for turbulent flows as well. That F value turns out to be slightly complicated. So, there is a logarithmic involved over here, then another term, and the whole thing is exponential minus 2, and this is true only for smooth pipes in case of turbulent flow. So, this is something that we will look at later on. Just for the sake of completion, I wanted to show over here, which means delta P I could have expressed in this terms itself, given in the blue box over here, but as engineers we like to write it in terms of a common factor which is given over here, Darcy friction factor. So, both are equivalent in the terms of Reynolds number, because if I substitute 64 by Re over here as value F, then automatically I will get this expression over here. So, I think this is something that we can clearly see. Okay. Now, let us look at the detailed calculation where we will finally look at T as a function of R and X, and this is what we have been waiting for to solve for past 2 lectures. Now, let us go ahead and try and do that. So, our objective is over here figure out couple of these variables. So, I want to find out what is this value, because U R I have already figured out. This one I can write over here 2 V average 1 minus R square by capital R square. This I have figured out. H value I have to figure out, and Nusselt value I have to figure out. So, let us try and obtain this particular values for the following condition. The flow has to be laminar, and it has to be a fully developed flow flowing inside a tube or a pipe. So, let me create the background for that. So, we have a heated pipe which is heating the fluid flowing inside it. I will put the coordinate system over here. So, this is my x direction, this is r direction, the diameter of the pipe is capital R. This is the middle of the plane, center of the pipe, and let me draw the temperature profile over here. So, the length of each of these blue lines indicate the temperature value. So, the longer the length, the higher the temperature. So, we can clearly see over here in this particular case, we are taking the case where Ts is greater than T mean. And what is the value of T mean? T mean would turn out to be somewhere over here. We would have an expression for that, and this whole temperature is going to increase as a function of x as well, which means at longer distances over here, if I can maybe erase this, at longer distances, if I try and draw the temperature profile, oops, let me see if I can get it or not. So, if I go to longer distances, here the temperature profile will be much longer over here. And why is this that the temperature is increasing? Simply because we are heating the pipes from all sides. So, heat is coming in from here, over here. As the fluid is going forward, its temperature has to increase. So, what I want to do over here is create a differential element and perform an energy balance on that. So, let me draw the pipe once again, and let me draw a differential element. So, the differential element I want to take having the length dx. So, in this direction this will be the length, and in this direction its length is dr. So, I hope you will be able to know what I am doing over here. Maybe I will use another color as well. So, if I can make it green over here. So, this section that I have drawn, this is the side view of something which I can draw over here at the bottom. So, what I am doing is I am taking an annular cylinder If my drawing is good, you guys can see what I am trying to draw over here. So, this delta x is over here. So, this is my delta x, which is same as this delta x over here, right. So, this thing which I have drawn, that this is the 3D representation of the same thing, and it is a 2D representation of the same thing if you look carefully at this shaded green portion. So, it is kind of like a hollow cylinder. If you can see a hollow cylinder having very short length, because that short length I want to take as dx. The thickness of this hollow cylinder is dr, which is shown as dr over here. As we can see, this thickness is shown as dr, and the thickness over here will be dr. This thickness is dr. Now, let us try and see. We want to perform an energy balance. So, how am I going to do the energy balance? I want to figure out how much energy is coming in because of the flow. So, I can write it in terms of its temperature, m dot Cp Tx. This is the point over here, how much energy is coming at this particular point. Now, I want to figure out the same fluid is going to come out from this side, how much energy is leaving over here. Then I can write that energy is m dot Cp, temperature not at x now, but at x plus dx, temperature at x plus dx, right. So, as the fluid is flowing forward, it would get heated from the side, and initially before entering the differential element, its temperature is Tx. Once it leaves the differential element of distance dx, after that temperature becomes Tx plus dx. So, it is going to be slightly mathematically oriented. So, please pay some attention over here. In addition to that, heat transfer is taking place across the cylinder as well, which means along the radial direction over here. So, over here, because the radius is r plus dr, I will write it as q dot r plus dr, and this small arrow over here I will write it as q dot r. That is this part. In other words, if I draw the circle over here slightly big, so this is the front view of this particular cylinder. So, here the q dot is r, and from here the q dot is r plus dr. Why? Because the radius is changing. At this point radius is r, and at this point radius is r plus dr. Now I have these four terms available with me, and let me circle them. The first term is this energy term, the second term is this one, the third term is this q dot r and r plus dr, and the fourth term is over here, which means whatever is entering my cylinder in terms of heat must be leaving the cylinder, which means I can write what are the terms which are entering it: m dot Cp Tx and q dot r. These are the terms which are entering, and what are the terms which are leaving? M dot Cp Tx plus dx, and what is leaving it is q dot r plus dr. So, what I have done essentially is energy in is equals to energy out. Now, some student may ask that why is there not a storage term? It can be E dot in equals to E dot out plus E dot stored, because not everything which has entered maybe has to leave, then some storage is there. Then what will happen if energy storage? Then temperature has to rise, which means it becomes unsteady or transient problem. Here we are assuming it is a steady state problem. So, all that transient term goes away. Now, let me also write over here. So, this will be my equation number 1. This whole big thing is equation number 1. Over here, can we write the expression for m dot? I think I can do that. M dot is usually always given as rho A into V. This is the general definition for m dot. In this particular differential element, what will it become? Density I can assume is constant. This A is this small cross section that I will highlight in orange color over here. That is this cross section over here, because this is the cross section in which mass is entering. So, I can write it as dAc. Maybe I will write with darker ink so that it is visible. I will write it as dAc, the small area cross sectional. What is the velocity which is entering over here? The differential velocity I can put over here. The velocity which is entering is simply u as a function of r. It depends on the r coordinate of the velocity. Okay. And what is the value of this dAc? Maybe I can write it in terms of this circle over here. This is dAc exactly, and this dAc is simply the periphery 2 pi r multiplied by the thickness dr. So, I can say that this becomes rho 2 pi r dr into u. So, this is the value of my m dot. This I can write as equation number 2. Okay. Now, let us do one thing. On the next page, what we are going to do is rewrite equation number 1, but I will rearrange these terms. So, just pay some attention to equation number 1 once we have moved to the next slide. So, I will bring the m dot terms on one side, okay, and what I will get is m dot Cp right. This is exactly what we had written on the previous slide. Now, let me go ahead and do some mathematical jugglery. I will multiply on the left hand side by dx and also divide by dx. This is something I can do, right. Numerator denominator I can multiply by the same numbers over here. So, this I multiply by dr over here and over here. Now, what does this term become, which I am highlighting in orange over here? This is differential of temperature as a function of distance. This is dt dx, and over here we have dq dr. So, this is what I am going to write in the next line as this becomes m dot Cp dx. These are these three terms over here, So, I am just rearranging them, m dot Cp dx, and can I write it as this becomes del t by del x, and I have to take care of the minus sign somewhere. So, we get del q dot r by del r, and this is the dr over here. Okay. I think there should be a minus sign over here. So, we will put a minus sign because I am taking a differential from the small to the big quantity. Now, I will substitute over here the value of m dot, which we already had as rho 2 pi r dr into u. Okay. And what I get is 2 pi rho Cp r dr u dx. It looks little bit long, but I think it turns out to be very nice, and we have del t by del x. And on the right hand side we have minus del q dot r by del r into dr. Now, I can see that this dr can get cancelled with this dr over here. Okay. What else can I do? I can now try and expand this particular relationship. So, one note I will tell to the student, will take little bit long to solve it. I will need 2 more slides, but in the meantime, don't lose track of what we were trying to do. So, always whenever we are trying to do something which is little bit longer, it is always good to come back and reiterate that what we will get over here, and I will promise you very simple solution we will get over here. You will not be able to believe this. This turns out to be, we are doing a complicated solution for this long equation, but it will turn out to be very nice, very simple. So, over here I will put a yellow star. So, whatever complicated thing we are doing, don't be worried by that. Just see the simplicity that we will get at the end. Why I told this is because it will become little complicated first, and then it will become very, very simple later. At the end it becomes simple. So, how can I expand this term over here? If students remember q dot r from our conduction part, we could always write it like this. Right? This is simple Fourier's law in the cylindrical coordinate. So, this is simply minus Ka del t by del r, and A over here is the surface area. Which surface area are we talking about? I can go back over here. So, AC we have seen was this surface, cross sectional surface, that is why we put a C, and AS is the surface area, which will be this inside surface area over here. This inside surface multiplied by the length. So, from here we can get AS will be what? This inside periphery, which is 2 pi r, and the length of this cylinder we can get from here. The length of the cylinder we have taken as dx. So, this is the value of AS that we will put in the next equation. So, we can memorize it 2 pi r into dx, which means this AS value also I know. This is simply 2 pi r into dx. So, it becomes very interesting. This thing I will plug in here and this thing will go over there, long equation. But just give me 2 more steps, it will all cancel out and become very beautiful. So, don't worry. Now, let me rewrite the whole thing again, or first should I put over here? Okay, I will put this thing over here. So, if I put this, del q dot del by del r, what I am writing over here is essentially del of this whole thing, which turns out to be this thing, and the constants I can take outside. So, it will become 2 pi minus 2 pi k. Dx also I can take outside because it is a partial derivative with r. What will remain inside will be simply del by del r into r, right, del t and del r. This is what we will get. If students ask, sir, where did this extra r come from? Where did this r come from? Can somebody tell? I think it has come from here. So, this r I cannot take outside the bracket, right? So, this one I am put over here. So, let me put a red box over here, because this whole red box will go back over here. So, we looked at this term, we started with purple line over here, solved this, then got back, then red box, and red line takes us back over there. Now, this whole thing I will write here. Now, let me write this thing, and believe me, it will simplify in just 1 minute. So, it becomes 2 pi, I am writing the left hand side, 2 pi rho Cp into r into u dx del t del x. What is the right hand side? 2 minuses will cancel out. There is a minus over here and there is a minus over here, both will get cancelled out, right? And what I will get? I will get 2 pi k dx, 2 pi k dx, and then the differential del by del r, r del t by del r. Now, you can see lot of cancellations can take place. Let me go ahead and try. So, 2 pi will get cancelled out, 2 pi over here, then dx will cancel out with dx, right. Now, I will write it in this form. I will then arrange it in this way, just u del t del x I will keep on the left side, everything else I will take on the right hand side. So, then rho Cp will get divided by k. So, it will become k divided by rho Cp. This is the first term. Second term, this r will go on the right hand side, so it will become 1 by r del by del r, r del t del r. Now, I will ask another question to student, what is this value k divided by rho Cp? I think people remember this is alpha, thermal diffusivity. So, let me put over there. So, this has become very simple now. U del t by del x is alpha by r del by del r, r del t del r. Don't get confused with the long mathematics. In just 2 steps we will see it will be turn out to be very simple equation. So, this is very nice equation. So, we will put 2 blue star over here. So, we will remember it, or I can also put some number over here. So, we had equation 1, 2. So, let me call it equation number 3. So, this is a general equation which tells me the gradient of temperature as a function of x is somehow linked to the gradient of temperature along with the radial direction. And this is very interesting result. Now, let us solve it for some specific case. So, again we will case 1, case 2, and this case 1 we will take is the simplest one, where we have the boundary condition as constant heat flux. So, we have the constant heat flux boundary condition, and this one, students, remember from yesterday's lecture we have already shown that for this particular case constant heat flux, I will draw it again over here. The temperature profile goes like this, that in the fully developed region, this is my Tmx, this is temperature of surface Tsx, this is temperature as a function of x, and this delta T is a constant, and it is like Q dot S divided by H. So, we know all these values, and we had also written this set of differential equation. We had written del T by del x equals to dTs by dx equals to dTm by dx is a constant which is known to us 2qs divided by rho v average Cp into capital R, and this constant I will call as capital C. And what does all these terms actually tell me? First term, second term, third term, this is simply the slope of this line and the slope of this line. What does this red equality tell me? This thing is equal to this thing. It is just telling me this slope is equal to this slope. Because what is dTs by dx? The slope of the temperature at the surface for the first curve. That slope is equal to the slope of dTm by dx, the slope of the mean temperature of the fluid, its gradient with x. So, both slopes are equal, and that is shown over here, that dTs by dx, dTm by dx both are equal, and also equal to dt by dx, also equal to this constant. So, 4 equalities we are over here. Second thing we already have is the velocity profile inside a fully developed flow. So, we can write for fully developed flow, we already know this is 2 V average 1 minus r square by r square. So, where were we in equation numbering? This was equation 3. Let me put this whole thing as equation number 4 and this as equation number 5. So, we are running into lot of equations, but do not worry. Now, let us do, now we will get the most simple solution. Let us substitute equations 4 and 5 into equation 3. And where was equation 3? On the previous slide over here. This is what I am talking about. This equation was u del t by del x. So, equation number 3 was u del t by del x is equals to alpha by r, thermal diffusivity divided by r, and then we have a double differential with radius, del t by del r, temperature gradient along the radius. So, what substitutions I can make? What is this first term? Let me ask in red color over here, u, what is this? This is equation number 5, isn't it? Because u value we have known. Let me put that over there. So, the first term becomes u becomes 2 V average 1 minus r square by capital R square. Okay, this is the first term. Second term, I will highlight it red color once again, this one. What is this del t by del x? Second term. Okay, this is this equation number 4. Isn't it beautiful? Because del t del x we have already solved earlier. We got this equality. This is looking little bit long, but let me write it will cancel out. Most of it will cancel out. Let me write it. So, what I want to write is this term will go over there. So, it becomes 2 q dot s heat flux divided by V rho V average. Look, V average will directly cancel immediately. Then Cp into capital R. So, left hand side is all constants, isn't it? Just this radius r is here. So, I can just put one variable is there on the left hand side, which is this. All are constants, everything else is constant. Okay. Now, what happens on the right hand side? Right hand side, let us do one thing. Alpha, which is given over here, let us write it again in terms of k divided by rho Cp. So, let me write it as k divided by rho Cp into R. This is that bottom R over here that I have written over here, multiplied by this is del T by del R, R del T del R. So, some student may say, sir, why are we solving this very long equation written in blue, red, green and black color we have written? Again, remember, please go back 2 slides that we have put that star over there, orange star, I will make it red also over here. We are trying to find out with this long process what is the value of temperature profile. What is this and what is this temperature profile? What is this temperature profile? I want to find out. I want to find out what is this temperature profile, because it will be very satisfying experience knowing that in the pipe we have calculated what is temperature profile under one condition. Okay. Now, very good thing we will get over here, many terms will get cancelled. We can see immediately V average cancels out with the V average, right. This rho cancels out with rho, Cp cancels out with Cp. What is it that is remaining? Let us quickly collect the terms which are remaining. 2 into 2 becomes 4, numerator is q dot s divided by. So, k I can bring from this side, this k I will bring denominator over here. So, it becomes k and this capital R is remaining, I make it R. Okay. Then this small r I will also bring on this side. So, I will make it, it becomes 1 minus r square by r square into small r. This is my whole left side, and right hand side becomes d by dr r dt by dr. So, there is no x term over here. So, I am converting everything into an ordinary differential equation. What is the order of this ordinary differential equation? This is second order ordinary differential equation. Can we solve it? Of course, very easy to solve. I will just integrate it twice and we will get solution. So, that part I will leave to the students, but I will ask them, in order to fully solve the second order ODE, how many boundary conditions we need? So, we need two boundary conditions, right? And what will be those two boundary conditions in this particular calculation? So, we can think immediately that when pipe flow was taking place, one boundary condition immediately is on the surface. So, if I know the surface temperature is Ts, then I know one boundary condition. So, let me go ahead and write that down. So, first boundary condition is, boundary condition number 1 is that at surface means R equals to capital R, I can immediately write temperature at R equals to capital R is Ts. Okay. Second boundary condition, maybe at center I know because of symmetry. What will symmetry tell me? Let me go back. In this profile over here where I have put the question mark, even though I don't know the profile, but I know the symmetry tells me that everything on the top is equal to everything on the bottom. So, the curve will be same, which means the slope is 0 over there. So, I can write del T by del R, temperature slope at R equals to 0 is 0. This is because of symmetry. So, these two boundary conditions I have, and this ordinary differential equation, let me put it as number 6. So, this equation is number 6. So, equation 6 I can solve with the help of these two boundary conditions, and this exercise I will leave to the students because solution will look something like this. I can just share the rough solution, q dot s divided by k into capital R bracket r square minus r to the power 4, then 4r square plus C1 log r plus C2. So, all we are doing by solving these boundary conditions, plugging in boundary conditions, we are getting values of C1 and C2. If we do that, what is the final answer that we get? That I will put on the next slide. But I hope everybody has understood what we are trying to do over here. Okay. So, let us go to the next slide over here. This is the, we can write after solving, we get the final solution as temperature of the fluid is equal to Ts minus q dot R divided by k bracket start 3 by 4 minus r square by capital R square plus r to the power 4 divided by 4 r to the power 4. It is a long expression over here, but look, with all this long effort we have been able to figure out what we are wanted to do. We have achieved the final solution. So, temperature profile we have figured out inside the fluid what is the temperature profile, and we can see that q dot, capital R and k are constant. So, the whole thing depends on small r. So, I can vary small r, I can figure out that what type of a profile am I getting. Isn't it beautiful? Now, one question one student will ask immediately, sir, but this whole thing is look like it is only a function of r, because I do not see any x here. Do I see any x? On the right hand side, is there any variation in x? If there is no variation in x, then how will we get this type of a temperature increase? You remember, inside the pipe our temperature is going like this. The mean temperature is going like this, surface temperature is going like this. Remember, so both have to be function of x, and here is the hint I have also given. So, the solution is that this Ts that we are thinking is a constant, it is not a constant. Please remember, this Ts is a function of x. I am just not writing the bracket, but we all know how can it not be a function of x, because in case 1 when we are keeping heat flux as constant, Ts has to increase with x. I cannot keep Ts constant and heat flux constant at the same time. That is not possible in nature. If I am keeping q dot as constant, Tx has to rise. which means Ts is a function of x, which means on the left hand side over here I will write that T itself is both a function of r as well as a function of x. Now the solution is totally final, which means at any r and any x, which means this thing now we have solved over here. The first thing that we wanted to solve, which means I can find at this x value temperature profile, if it goes increase temperature profile over here, and now I can even tell why this thing length is less and this length is large, isn't it? Why? Because this is at Ts, let us say at x equals to 1 meter. This is the surface temperature here. This could be surface temperature at x equals to 2 meters. I am just putting some imaginary numbers over here. So, after 2 meters, the surface temperature has to be higher than that of the 1 meter, isn't it true? Now, let us go back over here, and we have two more unknowns. H value is unknown and Nusselt value unknown. So, here again we will get very beautiful result over here, and all we need to do is, based on this, we need to calculate the mean temperature. If I know the temperature profile somewhere, I can always calculate the mean temperature. And you remember in the first lecture we have given that expression also. I will write that expression from 0 to r. It is simply Tr Ur r dr. Once I calculate this mean temperature, I know this particular mean temperature. This is what I want to calculate. Once I know this, then I have delta T. What is delta T, by the way? It is Ts minus Tm. And how is it important to link it with H? Because it is simply Q dot by H. Because what is Q dot? It is H into delta T, which is H Ts minus Tm, which means from here I can get the value of H. So, I can do that. Let me go ahead and write. So, H is Q double prime divided by Ts minus Tm. And I do that jugglery. It turns out this whole thing is, first I will write the expression for this. This expression is very nice. Just look how simple it turns out to be. It is simply this. So, remember all those long equations that we were trying to solve, this thing has become very simple, isn't it? The Tm is equals to Ts minus this thing. Now, can I plug this thing over here? I get Q dot this. What is denominator? Denominator simply becomes 11 by 24 Q R by K. Again, lot of cancellations we can make, and this whole thing will become simply equal to, let me write it in another color, 24K divided by 11 R. This is the value of H, which means we have figured out H also, and so beautiful it has come. H is simply a number. H equals to 24K divided by 11 R. Can I also write it in terms of D? I just multiply 2 and 2 on the top and bottom, I get this thing. And why am I more interested in D, 48 by 11 D? Because I want to calculate next Nusselt number. A Nusselt number I know is H D by K, which means it is H into D by K. H value I already have from here, 48K by 11D into D by K. See how simple it becomes. So, Nusselt is nothing but 48 by 11. It cannot get any simpler than that. Just a number 4.36. So, for all this derivation, final answer turns out to be just a number 4.36. And we go back just 2-3 slides back over here, and look, we have solved this question mark also and this question mark also. Okay. And similar thing we can do for, this is case 1. So, do not worry, I am not going to do case 2 as well, but if we do case 2 where Ts is a constant, there what we will get? There the answer will turn out to be very simple, that the answer is 3.66. So, their Nusselt value will be slightly lower, it will be 3.66. And somebody asks, sir, this is only for the fully developed region, what about the entrance region? So, we can even show for the entrance region and the fully developed region roughly over here, that this value goes over here, this value goes over here. So, this value is this is 4.36, this is 3.66. So, this is the case where Q dot S is constant and this is the case where Ts is constant, which means the fully developed laminar flow Nusselt value is a constant 4.36, but if I want to increase it, where I want to increase, I want to make it slightly higher over in this region or in this region, then I have to go into the entrance region. Another way I can look at it is, I don't need to go into the entrance region, for this entrance region also we have an expression. That expression will turn out to be very long. So, just for the interest of students, I can write over here. Here Nusselt number is very long, it is 3.66 plus 0.65 multiplied by dl by r multiplied by Reynolds into Prandtl. This whole thing divided by only the last part divided, not the plus part, this divided by 1.004 d by L Reynolds into Prandtl 2 by 3. So, do not worry, you do not have to memorize this long part, you just have to figure out that at the very entrance region over here and here, their Nusselt value is not just 4 or 3, it is much higher. And similarly, this whole exercise we have done for laminar case, what if we have to do it for turbulent case? So, there again the expression turned out to be some sort of a semi-empirical. So, for turbulent case we get Nusselt is not just one number, it varies at Reynolds to the power this and Prandtl to the power n. So, this expression is for turbulent flow inside a pipe, and a value of n we can take as 0.4 or we can take as 0.3. So, we will take 0.4 if heating is taking place and if 0.3 if cooling is taking place. So, for cooling and heating we get these two different type of expressions. So, again important point was that the laminar case, because that one we can solve by looking at simple ordinary differential equation. That is why I spent more time over here, and these different long correlations, these are just some values which are obtained from the book, from some table you can obtain over here, and they are beyond the scope. It will be covered in some advanced courses over here, but this part is very interesting, and these students they have to try and do themselves. So, even though the equations and solutions may look little bit long, but please try and do that yourself once or twice, give it some practice. So, with that we have come to the end to the this particular topic for the internal flows, forced convection which is taking place over here. So, we have looked at very interesting cases. So, two main cases we have looked at. Where first case we always used to take where the constant heat flux condition is there, we are trying to heat the fluid. Second case we are keeping the constant temperature condition, and we have defined certain parameters like NTU, which is very important number. Please remember that special number 5 for NTU, beyond which we generally do not want to go. So, that is something that we have looked at. In addition to that, we have solved the whole equation and figured out the temperature profile at different radius values and different x values. So, I think it was a very useful and very nice exercise, even though the equations got complicated in middle, but I hope the students will try and do it themselves as well. So, with that I thank the students. We will come back next time with a new topic. Thank you.